I think we'll get started. We'll bring this agenda and priorities meeting to order for November 1st, 2021. And are there any deletions or additions to the agenda?
Mayor Barkley, if you could add staff introductions at the onset of the meeting, please.
Okay, thank you. Can I please ask for a motion to adopt the agenda? The amended agenda?
I'll make that motion. I beat you, Don.
Thank you, Councillor Hystad. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, and we will have a staff introduction, I think, from Director Vickers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barkley. So I am pleased to announce that we have hired our new finance manager. Sherry Smith here has a CPA and 25 years experience in the finance area. And today was our first day. We're really excited to get her involved. Would you like to say anything or maybe give a...
Just that I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm just glad to be back to work. And so looking forward to helping you all make the town of Innisfail the best place for everybody to be. So very excited to be here.
Welcome, Sherry. Nice to meet you and glad to see you're on board and best of luck with everything. You're coming into the busy season, so that's fine. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, so we have lots of updates from administration today, lots of policies to review and information. So we will move into 3.1 and I'll call on CEO Becker.
Thank you.
Procurement policy.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Attached is a cover report, but also the most current procurement policy, which was adopted by council in January of 2016. I think it is a good time, as per council's direction last council meeting, to take a closer look or a review of the procurement policy. That's on best practices. The policy is 5 years old and procurement is what we do every day. There are new terminologies that we've come across when being in social procurement, which we are looking to enhance our knowledge on what that really means, and how procurement could perhaps be as a tool to enhance community development within Innisfail area, perhaps. So again, it is a good idea to take a closer look at the policy and provide you updates. What's recommended, council, and certainly we can start building out principles. A word just comes out at me in a different way, but sorry about that, distracted. And to apply to your strategic planning processes. And so, however, we can start developing out the key components of what that procurement policy could in detail. Looking probably to bring back stronger draft of a policy probably in the first quarter of 2022, but with you build upon those key components up until that initial draft is developed. With that, I'd like to just take a quick look at the current policy and then certainly take any questions, seek any direction you'd have for administration at this time. So as you can see, the policy was developed in 2016. It outlines the town's obligations for openness, transparency, and accountability for procurement for goods and services. There is a reference under the purpose of the policy, and it talks about the agreement on internal trade, which is now called the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, but also the New West Partnership Trade Agreement. And the municipality being a form of government, we are required to meet legislation of the New West Partnership Trade Agreement. What that is the provincial governments of BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba have a interprovincial agreement that any services, goods and services over $75,000 needs to go on a public website called the Alberta Purchasing Connection, where proponents could bid in on services for anything over $75,000 and over. So we need to be transparent to the Western provinces. So $75,000 for goods and services, but also $200,000 for construction related projects as well. So that's something we need to do, we do that. And there's no way out of that. And it's again, that we can procure best possible procurements through the 4 provinces, but also is perhaps a checks and balances to get the best possible procurement for the town of Innisfail. So the procedures is outlined of how we do our procurement within the organization. There's also the town employee authority purchase constraints or levels from $1,000 to employees up to $75,000 for the CAO and director. Anything over $75,000 requires council resolution, as well. Anything over 75 is for council. So obligation of competitive procurement thresholds as indicated there as well. The CAO does have the ability to procure through emergency, which has happened. Gee, I can't remember, a few years ago, there was I think to do with probably a mechanical failure to not weaken our services. I did procure based on emergency and then reported that back out to council of that action. I'll make sure that is transparent to you. So yeah, contract requirements, exceptions, etc. There is a local preference clause within the documents. As per our review, we'll make sure that can we go higher? Is 5% still within the realms of our ability to procure? Local preference is, I think, a little bit sensitive. We have to make sure we do not get ourselves in trouble. So yeah, that's just a quick and dirty over our procurement policy. I really just flying through it. If there's any questions to how we procure, but this is how we do our business generally at this given time. Again, it'll take this type of a framework, but build out on best practices and whatever that means at this given time. And we'll conduct that research moving forward. If there's any questions, Mayor and Council.
Any questions? Councilor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I just want to go through it and get clarification on local preference. I'm not clear on the maximum price variance allowed in giving preference to a local supplier shall be 5%, and the value of the procurement is less than 75,000 for goods and services or less than 200,000 for construction. The question that I have, does that mean that if we have a local supplier that has a price on a contract over 75,000, we can't award it to them?
Your worship, or Mayor Barkley, to Councilor Harrison, it goes back to that new West trade agreement. We need to we can't. We have to make sure we follow that legislation. Yeah, so that's what I believe would be that anything above 75,000, we're following that trade agreement, which could give us some problems if we try to apply that 5% local preference.
Okay, so then Mayor Barkley through to CAO Becker. I understand then that anything over 75,000, our local people aren't eligible to bid on it with that. Is that, am I missing something?
Mayor Barkley, Councilor Harrison, not at all. Local proponents can bid on anything the town has to offer. So it does not limit them. They're in a bigger pool within the 4 provinces. Okay, so anything within the 5%, because of the agreement, then we'd have to award it to a non-local supplier. Is that just so that I'm perhaps? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Maceras?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. To CEO Becker. I did have a question. I'm not sure if I'm missing some information here. It's one of the bullet points for procuring construction works from outside parties. It says that the formal public advertised tendering process is required when the procurement value for construction is expected to be equal or greater than 200,000. What is the process for under 200,000?
I think Steve, it's probably more into your world. What is the process you undertake to seek contracts under 200,000?
Yeah, so typically what we would do is we do a 3-quote bid. So we do like an invited tender and get up to three or a minimum of 3 qualified contractors to supply bids. And that's if it's over the 100,000 or the 75,000 mark. So 75,000 to 200, we go with a 3-quote system.
Anyone else? Councillor Hystad?
There we go. I just want to ask your worship to Todd or Steve. I think this arrangement too has been around for quite some time though. Like we got the 2016 data on there, but I think it's been around for like 9-10 years. Am I correct? I just wanted some clarity on that. I think this has been ongoing. It's just cleaning it up as we move along.
That is correct. It has been, I'm not sure exactly the duration, but it's definitely over 10 years anyway.
Yeah, your worship, or Councillor Barkley, Councillor High said it'd be probably in that 15+ years. Yeah, those agreements have been in place.
So CEO Becker, when you evaluate this, are you able to look at some evidence as far as procuring local? And even though there may be a bit of a price difference, but price isn't everything. And we know that when we procure local, it means local jobs, it means money circulating in the local economy. And also we spoke a little bit about potentially trying to unbundle some RFPs so that local contractors are able to bid on part of that project. I look at large infrastructure projects, and it seems mostly out of town people, because our business people here don't have the capacity to take on the whole thing, but they have the capacity to take on some of it. And I know at times they're also being hired by the company that's been awarded the contract to do some of the work. And I'm sure that there's a spread in there for hiring them between what they're getting paid and what we're being charged. So I'm wondering if hopefully you can look into maybe some potential of unbundling some of those RFPs where we can hire direct, as opposed to placing a large contract and then that large contractor is farming out some of the work to our local people, and if there's any potential there.
Yeah, Mayor Burke, I think made some good points. I think we do a really good job for competitive and transparent bidding. Some of the larger projects is then subcontracted to local, ball field, and then other projects with local construction related companies. So I think we do a really good job that way. I think the policy is missing maybe some definitions of what is local. Is it within the boundaries of corporate boundaries of Innisfail, or is it a regional community? What is that local? We try to expand our dollars local as best as possible, but value for money is also an obligation. So if we can get enhanced quality with a less cost, that's we feel at with this current policy that is an obligation. So I think you're correct that research needs to, how can we do it differently? And how do we best benefit the community, but also us as a company with our procurement processes for best value for dollar. And certainly part of that educational component in the community of how can you best work with one of a large procurement entity being the town of Innisfail. So there's a lot in that, but I think is there ways we can do things differently that we maximize the taxpayers' dollars locally, but at the same time making sure our goods and services and projects are the best they can be as well.
Yeah, I also think maybe some opportunity. I don't know how it fits in with the New West partnership agreement, but even we look at Elemental and the great job you all did on that and getting the community benefit agreement set up. And is there more that we can do in that area as well? We contractors can leave maybe a little bit behind in a community benefit fund or something, and that can be part of the contract. I don't know whether that's offside or anything by doing something like that or asking for that, but you know,
Yeah, it's again, great comments, Mayor Barkley, and I just wonder if that's what social procurement is. And
Mhm.
again, certainly admitting ignorance of what that is. I done some reading on it, and I only see 2 municipalities in Alberta applying those principles. That's City of Calgary and with Buffalo. So I think it's timely because we're under significant constraint to be as, you know, as frugal as possible by maximizing our resources. Not to say that we're not, because we do, and we try to go as local as best we can. But again, the value per dollar makes, you know, it includes the regional community
Yeah.
side of things. But I think it's a great opportunity. I just think it's also comes back to the vision of council. As I put a couple examples or one example in there, what would that look like in a strat plan? And I lost my page on my computer. Can you scroll to the next page, Kara, please? Yeah, just an example, how could this work? You know, as we get into strat plan discussion today, and then more of a robust process in February, you know, if council's, you know, looking to be strategic, you know, goal of council could be, you know, as per your comments, Mayor Barkley, you know, acting green, environmentally responsible, socially responsible, you know, it could be supported that what, you know, how can we, you know, allocate town staff, town resources to engage locally on some of these projects. We did that for our skateboard projects on benches and other materials. So that's a great example. That project is, can we, you know, modify the scope of the project to allocate it to more local? But so again, it's kind of a juggling act. We want the best. We're required to certain projects to go to the market through Western Canada, but like paving is often bid by probably 2 or 3 large companies. Then they subcontract through to other smaller proponents. So yeah, if there's any further questions.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley, through the mayor to the CAO. So when you are in the position where contractors are subbing, they're still under the requirement to adhere to any of the restrictions and regulations that the municipality is?
Mayor Barkley, to Councillor Wang, it's usually bid in by a prime contractor.
Right.
Then they use their affiliations for their subs. We don't really get it. They do list the subs within their submissions, but we don't go too far on that control. We see them, and if we have a previous issue with one, perhaps we can vocalize that's an issue, but that's up to the prime contractor to meet those requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? If not, I would ask somebody to make the recommended motion. Councillor
move
Harrison.
that Council initiates its strategic planning discussions and consider the development of goals and objectives associated with procurement best practices as part of those discussions.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 3.2 and the strategic planning policy. CEO Becker.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So back in March 2021, council approved this policy, and it was that time their commitment to strategic planning. Again, I'm not going to walk, you know, specifically through the policy. It's really there for your review, and there's a cycle to follow from the initial 4-year strategic planning, you know, midterm planning. Also outlines whose role and the responsibilities of administration to develop action plans associated with the strategy. So yeah, we'll just comb through it, but it is there for your review. If there's any questions to it, it provides some guiding information on how we do our strategic planning, long-term visioning. So from council's roles and responsibilities down to senior level management. And then of course, public. And then attached also is, I think we had a really good start on our corporate strat plan 2018 to 2021 of councils, previous councils onset of their term, but it did get away on us a little bit just on reporting out. We did report out quarterly, but we're just playing with it too. We didn't have a robust system developed regarding our strat plan, even on the engagement side of the community, but reporting out in a nice succinct way to the community. So we did make adjustments over the course of the 4 years, but this is what the initial strat plan with some updates, this is what it looked like back in 2018. And you'll see a little bit of information that we talked about on your onboarding, just on the different layers of strategies. But on page 6, council at the time came up with involvement of administration, 14 different strategy areas. And a couple more pages. Yeah, right there. So it goes right from council's desire, council's desire to work with the community through public engagements, focus in on the partnership with Red Deer County. You know, at that time regarding bylaws, I remember at that time we felt such things as trees were overgrowth in back lanes and in yards, and even with there's a windstorm at the time. But we needed our graders and garbage trucks to go down back lanes, but we needed people back on understanding what their roles or responsibilities were with bylaws. So that was an example. Council saw HR as a need for work, and then getting into more of an ec dev, housing, urban spaces, recreation. But from my perspective, what scored high during that time, and council got to score it in the scoring system, was community aesthetics, recreation amenities. If I recall right, were the top 2 focus, and that was evident of the work of the recreation multiplex discussion, which took a little bit of time to really grab traction on where are we going with this. But the community aesthetics is evident through the gateway work that through Steve's leadership and some of those projects. Yeah, it just goes on, but it's pretty large, pretty ambitious plan. And likely that could have been combined into smaller type headings. 14 headings is pretty beefy, but you can certainly see the you could recategorize those into more of, you know, it's 6 or 8 different focus areas. So the plan is, with a new plan, is to come back to you with a giraffe. I think this one, again, it worked, but I think I'd recommend we evolve a little bit and come to you with a nice, crisp, easy flowing strat plan, a framework that could work for you, council, but also help with your engagement with the community. And make sure we nail down our communications on a quarterly basis. We would look specifically at this plan. What are the priorities? What's now and what's coming next? So as we get into planning, it'll be up to you to decide what are those priorities and when should they occur. It'd be up for administration to come back to you and to meet your vision and your strategy. Here's what we recommend as tactical plans. So that's kind of the flow, just in general, easy terms. So we just skim down to the action listing. Yes, please. So this is again towards the end of council's term. We thought we need to give council some understanding of the direct action associated with their vision. Again, we're missing some feeling of this. There's no really a feeling of, you know, council's focus was aesthetics and to beautify the community, and, you know, some nice verbiage to really put a spotlight on the plan. But this is a blue collar type report on this is what we did. So not so much focus on outcome, focus on outputs right now. Outcome is really what you want, in my opinion, but it kind of gives you an idea of it's probably about 80 to 90% all inclusive. I think there's a few things missing. Yeah, and the beauty of strategic planning is it goes back to the solar farm where we could have this nice, robust, nice crisp plan, and all of a sudden you're hit with a opportunity, and that kind of, okay, this is going to stop. These priorities need to stop while we focus in on this opportunity. COVID is another opportunity, but opportunity that, hey, we need to readjust our priorities to make room for this new reality that we have. Focus on public policy, provincial, federal government policy, and how does that play in for grant opportunities to help you achieve your priorities. So yeah, the list is there. I think I'll just stop there. Council, if there's any questions on the policy itself or the plan that did occur, and you'll hear some of this during the reports of the senior managers. And then I'd like to talk to you later on in the meeting more of a go forward plan. So I'll just stop there if there's any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Maceras?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I don't have any questions. I wanted to comment on, as someone coming in new and reading this, I thought it was laid out very well. I loved how it went from very general and conceptual down to the actions, and I was so impressed at how much has been accomplished. So my 2 cents.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. Councillor Mazeros, that's good feedback. We live in this fishbowl, and how does fresh eyes look and see this? And I would agree on the action, the outputs, and it's really driven by those three there and their supporting teams. What we accomplished was significant over the last 4 years.
I think there was a few times, Councillor Maceras, when CEO Becker said, okay, we have to slow down now. A little too much on the plate.
I think that's a good comment. So Mayor Barkley, I'll take opportunity to respond. The beauty of a strat plan is having those real conversations and having a strategy and a focus. Where I felt a little bit, we kind of shotgunned it out a bit, and it puts a lot of strain on the organization. So ideally, we're communicating on what is right now, and again, what is circumstances, what has changed. So let's do a check-in on those priorities, and let's adjust them based on like real life. And because we can't do everything, the glass is so it's already overfilling, but maybe we need to change some of those balls in there to do what we to refocus. But that's the fun part of it, is just understanding that we need to making sure the capacity is realized doing some of these initiatives.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, I'll ask for somebody please to make a motion that we approve the strategic planning policy as information.
I will make that motion, Mayor
Okay.
Barkley.
Thank you, Councillor Maceras. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, and next we'll go on to 3.3, the heliport overview.
All right. So I will start, and then I'll probably pass it over to Stephen as we get into more of the technical details. But in these weeks before we dive into budget, we wanted to take the opportunity to provide council an opportunity to go through some of the background information on some of the large projects that will be placed before you for consideration. So again, this is going to just give you an overview of the events, discussions, and decisions that have taken place over the last 2 or 3 years regarding the municipal heliport. So the town has owned and operated the heliport since 1998. We are in a unique situation in the province, one of only 2 or 3 where the heliport itself is a municipally owned facility, as opposed to being under the purview and operation of Alberta Health Services. In 2019, a compatibility review of the town site was undertaken to determine if there were required upgrades to accommodate the conversion of the STARS fleet. So that was sort of how the whole conversation came about, was that Innisfail was included in a blanket project to review the compatibility of all the heliport sites across the province in conjunction with STARS changing their helicopter model. So in August of 2019, we received that compatibility report outlining the required upgrades and highlighting operational shortcomings at the facility. So that compatibility report was completed by RG Heliports Services. So Mr. Ron German, we've had numerous conversations with Ron over the course of this project, helping us understand the regulations and the operations associated with the heliport. So the primary findings out of that compatibility report was that the town's current operating manual was inaccurate and out of date. Our emergency response plan was not accurate and did not meet applicable standards. The town had little operational control or oversight at the facility, and that training and resources were required. One of the major highlighted risks was the location of the heliport within an area that attracts extensive pedestrian and vehicular traffic. So that was sort of the big highlight that came out of the report. It did go on to identify the various physical improvements that were required at the site, but that sort of potential incompatibility between the general location of the site and the heliport operations. So following that report and coming to council, we moved forward with the consultant to prepare a risk assessment and a patient care evaluation to look at the inherent risks, sort of to explore that location factor a little bit more, that even if all of the technical requirements were met with respect to the heliport, is it still viable to have the report there, or to have the heliport in that location? So this was back in May of 2020. We received the risk assessment and patient care report. So Transport Canada recognized the process that was gone through for this. So based on that risk assessment, the recommendation was the voluntary suspension of the civil aviation document, which is essentially our operation certificate for the facility. Our council did make the decision to pursue the voluntary suspension. It was a 1-year suspension. We have since gone past that. However, the consultant has indicated that to go through the process to get that operation certificate back is not significantly different than if the suspension were extended. So the risk assessment did indicate that no risks were identified that were deemed unmanageable, and that risk still remains even upon the implementation of all the identified mitigation measures. However, the likelihood is greatly reduced. However, the severity of risk will always remain high due to the nature of the operation in this location. So essentially, the risk assessment has gone through and said, if we do all of the required upgrades to the facility, as well as improve our operations in terms of control of the site during a mission, there's still always going to be risk. You're still landing a helicopter in an urban area. However, the likelihood is greatly reduced in that. But I guess the severity of an incident, if there were to be a helicopter crash, is always going to be a severe risk. So again, the Innisfail Airport was identified as a safe landing area in relatively close proximity to the Innisfail Hospital. That does provide an option if the heliport is temporarily or permanently closed. So the major risks that have been identified is downwash injuries to persons and property on the ground, helicopter incident with persons on the ground, and then operations and maintenance. So ensuring that we are continually doing all the things that we need to be doing with respect to the heliport. The required physical upgrades that would need to happen if we're to go back to operating at this location is power line markings and lighting, surface renewal of the asphalt, which I think is going to be concrete if we do it, training and certification of staff, traffic and pedestrian controls. So when we talk about the operations, we would be looking at utilizing our firefighter resources to help with traffic and pedestrian control during missions. And then having dedicated staff that are doing the required daily and periodic tests with respect to the facility. So in terms of public consultation throughout this project, we've been in contact with STARS, Innisfail Healthcare Center representatives, Alberta Healthcare Services, and the public. So back in August of 2020, we held a stakeholder meeting with AHS representatives, STARS, Innisfail Healthcare Center council members, local doctors, members of the Rotary Club, as well as our heliport consultant, to again, essentially go through the risk assessment, to go through some of AHS's considerations that we'll talk about a little bit more in a second, as well as some of the comments from the actual hospital staff and doctors here in the community. Then in October of 2020, we had a public information session where the heliport consultant essentially again went through that compatibility review and the upgrades and potential risks that could exist with the current facility. And then so November 2020, all of those related documents were presented publicly to council. So the risk assessment, that compatibility report, all of that background information was provided. So one of the conversations or the questions that comes up often is, is AHS going to pay for this, or is AHS going to help us? And AHS, both their heliport division and their capital investment division, has indicated that the town doesn't rank highly on their matrix when they look at the consideration of heliport facilities and where they would locate those. So their criteria is essentially based on 3 different considerations. Number 1 being the number of patient transfers, with a patient transfer number of 10 or more by helicopter, sort of giving you a check in that box. Distance to the airport being greater than 20 minutes. For us with Big Bend Airport, we don't get that criteria marked off. And then distance to tertiary care being greater than 45 minutes. We do get a check in that box, being that we're over 45 minutes by ground to the Calgary foothills. Just for an update on where we're at for 2021. So as of last week, there have been 12 STARS missions to the Innisfail area. 8 of those have been airport transfers and 4 were scene calls. So in the past, we've been given sort of an average between 4 and 7 airport transfers per year. Or not airport transfers, helicopter transfers per year, utilizing the heliport, or at this point now we're using the Big Bend Airport. So that's just an update. We are a little bit higher than we have been. So again, just a bit of an overview of the process to date. So last November, we presented those reports publicly. Then there was a request from council to look at the presentation of alternate sites, which we did last January. 3 potential sites were proposed. However, the general direction at that time was that once the requirement requires an ambulance transfer, that some of that value of the heliport is lost, whether it's in town or you're going to the airport. That proximity where there is the potential to not use the ambulance transfer is a big selling feature of the current location. So following sort of this process, and then we went based on council's direction, there was detailed engineering design was completed, and then tendering of the project to clarify the required capital expenditure was undertaken. So based on that design, the project was tendered in August of 2021 with those costs. And I'll maybe give it over to Stephen now, and he could talk about the details of the project itself and then the operations and maintenance component that would be ongoing.
Sure. Yeah, if you want to go back 1 slide, Kara. So what we did, we had a consultant, really, the consultant is out of Red Deer. They do majority of the heliport upgrades for Alberta Services, so very well versed. Had them engaged to look at the design, publicly tendered the project and came back with the following results of, around 640,000 all in with engineering contingency approvals, which is an extensive process, and then as well as getting the operations manual and training in place. So that was under our projected costs when we went into the project, but still significant cost at the time. So we were just kind of put the thing on hold. Then the next slide, we did talk about the operation and maintenance. Like, what does that look like just on the operations side? So we looked at it and based it on 6 flights a year, what it would take to properly manage the heliport. Because in the past, it was very much we have a heliport, we know we got to keep it clean, and that's kind of how we operated it. So we did look at it and set specific targets of time based on their new standards. It is a daily check on the site because of the call out system that'll have. So we'll have to have individuals that are specifically trained to be able to do those daily checks. And then we did include just some general maintenance every year, the helipad for snow removal, crack filling, the painting. And then we did include, as Megan mentioned, our fire department to assist in regards to having those flights come into town, which does mean, road closure within that park, keeping individuals away. So we did chat with our fire department on what they anticipated they would need in regards to crew for that each flight and mission. So we did come up with that cost of 81,000. Again, approximate cost to operate that site per year. Yeah, this really just goes through that same thing. We did chat in regards to the design, in regards to 51st Ave. Through the design, we are able to probably scale back a little bit in regards to the closure of 51st Ave. That was determined through the detailed design that we probably don't need to close 51st Ave on a flight mission. But that's in the details as we go into this moving forward, writing through it. So really that's the operation and maintenance manual over kind of in a nutshell. That's all we had in regards to that. So we'll take any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. So we can see there's been very extensive consultations on this heliport over the last couple of years, year and a half, I guess. And I'll just say the one thing that really stood out for me when we were going through this, I think, was the engagement we had with physicians, Herlika Miller at the time, on the critical need. When they call stars, it's obviously for a reason, and the level of care on that helicopter compared to what you would get in a ground ambulance seems to be quite significant, the difference in it. So that certainly stood out for me as something that was important. But does anybody have any questions about this? And Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barkley through to, I guess, CEO Becker. I guess just one observation is that currently we maybe don't have or fit into the AHS criteria in their matrix for them to support or take it over. But as Innisfail grows, as the region grows, would there be a point in time when they may consider that?
I guess they haven't indicated that. We'll never hit that, greater than 20 minutes from the airport checkbox. That one will always evade us, I guess, on that front. And I don't know, they are in the process of closing some of their other heliports, like AHS themselves. So I don't know what their long-term plans in terms of investment in those facilities are.
Thank you.
Councillor Bates.
And just a comment, over that year and a half, more towards the last 6 months, and as I interacted with anybody and discussed it, any citizen, I got the impression they would be willing to pay a small tax increase to have this go forward, which is very rare. Thank you.
Councillor Hystad.
Yeah, I see this, I know you're bringing it to us for information and, making a determination in the future once we go through budget. But I see this is one of those items that we need to do, really. And I think there's a number of us here that I know I said it was a no-brainer to me. I think there's opportunities like Councillor Bates just said, if it's taxes or maybe it's work in kind or things like that to get it done. And I see, I used to live on 42nd Street and I could see the helicopter coming in, how vital it was to the hospital. So I know this is for information today, but I would agree with Councillor Bates and his comments today. Thank you.
Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, through the mayor to the CAO, potentially to the director. Just to clarify, so Alberta Health Services is closing heliports in some communities. This heliport would be different. They wouldn't be able to close it.
Correct. Yeah, the AHS doesn't control whether or not we have a heliport.
Okay.
They have essentially said if a heliport is available, STARS will utilize that heliport, but they wouldn't tell us we cannot use it.
Okay.
Provided that the hospital is still transferring those types of patients.
Right. And I guess that would be my next question is based on, as we know, the report the Alberta Health Services has put in front of the government from last year. Is there any opportunity for us to confirm from Alberta Health Services where they're feeling emergent care, the future of emergent care in Innisfail, what it looks like? I'd sure like to get them to the table and have a conversation.
Any other questions? No, do you want a motion, CEO Becker, to accept this as information? Yep. Okay. Somebody make that motion, please.
Mayor Broccoli, I'll make that motion.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, and next we have 3.4, Director Jenkins, Community Services Department overview.
Okay, so I know we did a bit of introductions last week, but we were just looking to provide a little bit more detail and overview of our various departments, allow for more understanding of the functions and services provided by each, and just highlight some of our current priorities and recent projects. So for community services, again, we have family and community support services, so FCSS, recreation and culture, planning and development, facility and building maintenance, and then communications, tourism, and marketing. So within our FCSS department, we've been targeting the strategic priority to ensure all citizens have access to social amenities. Our FCSS team works to promote well-being in the community through preventative programming. Some of their priority areas over the last couple of years have been community mental health, domestic violence reduction, poverty reduction, housing and homelessness, age-friendly, so the new age-friendly committee being created and working towards that, as well as the FCSS grant allocations to various organizations. So in 2021, FCSS grant dollars were provided to victim services, local schools, both within the public and Catholic divisions, as well as community events involving Seniors Week, volunteer appreciation, and family festival activities. So in addition to all of that work, we were able to make additional community supports available utilizing COVID support funding. So these funds were focused on the provision of counseling services in partnership with McMahon. So that's still ongoing right now. Individuals within the community are able to access one-on-one counseling sessions through McMahon free of charge. We also supported free library cards through the library, which is effective through June of 2022. The installation of the new community greenhouse at the community garden, Free swims were provided at the Aquatic Center, and a new men's mental health initiative is underway. So 2021 was also the first year for distributing our community benefit funding funded through elemental energy from the solar farm. So these funds are allocated to a number of initiatives. So they do environmental programming at the schools and the library. So they were able to do one session at St. Marguerite's, I think, where they built solar cars. They're working at Innisfail Middle School, and we're hoping to get some through the library this month as well. It's been a challenge to get in the schools the way they would normally do, but that is something that will evolve. We were also able to, through the community grant or through the community benefit grant that was allocated to victim services as well as to the library for the purchase of a 3D printer. And then the fee assistance program that was launched, which gives up to $200 for lower income individuals to access programming and services, recreation, culture activities. So we've allocated 8 of those applications to date, and they've been utilized to access Pace Bus passes, swimming lessons and memberships at the pool, as well as minor sport registration. So in 2021, that was a $10,000 pot of money because the solar farm had only operated for half of the previous year. So that will increase to $20,000 for 2022. So those applications are open now, actually. So our FCSS staff, Karen Bradbury and Sandy Wacker, facilitate the FCSS transportation and the age-friendly committees under that group. So recreation and culture. So COVID has had a major impact within this department. Many of our programming has not taken place in the same way that we have in past years. However, successful events, including the Market on Main, Canada Day, Hillside Vibes, Water Wars, and the Central Alberta Skate Park Tour were all high points this year. There was focus on improving the culture at the skate park was a major priority. And through our skate park attendant, that was really very successful. And we hope to continue that in future years. The Youth Action Committee, which just sort of got going before COVID hit, has definitely been less active, but there has been momentum and sort of a sustained core group that has kept working. Operations at the pool and the arena are currently somewhat near normal these days or near previous levels. So our recreation team, we have Trish, Kane, Dawn is the supervisor at the pool, Christy at the arena are the major leads. So the Joint Use Committee and the Community Services Standing Committee are both 2 council committees that work in this space. The Joint Use Committee being between the town and Chinook's Edge. Next focus area being planning and development. So again, another active year. This year has been certainly up compared to the last 3 or 4 years. We can look a little closer at the development stats in a second. Again, numerous plans were updated, including the IDP with Red Deer County, the North Area Structure Plan, and the Dodds Lake Area Rec Plan. Again, the land use bylaw was also updated to be more reflective of current trends. In 2022, the town will be moving our building inspection services in-house. So this services are currently provided through an external agency. A business case was developed to outline the benefits of bringing this service through a town employee. The position has been created as a joint role of building and fire inspector, which will allow us improved service delivery in both fire and building services. So we do have an individual, Corey, on staff that is in this role, and in January we will officially start offering the building inspection services through the town office, and we have already started on the fire inspection side, really hoping to improve service delivery and community safety as we're able to put more resources to this focus area. Community economic development has been identified as a key philosophy for us with ECDEV, and we're in the early stages with our Community Economic Development Committee, working with local community leaders. So that's very early on, but we're quite excited with the work of that committee. So both the Community Economic Development Committee and the Municipal Planning Commission are the 2 council committees that fall within this group. So facilities and buildings. So asset management and looking at our existing buildings has been a big focus. Getting a better sense of the ongoing investment that's needed in our buildings and understanding what kind of shape they're all in. Again, we've been focused in the past year on the exploration of the aquatic center, which we'll be talking in more detail with council next week. Again, this process has required an in-depth consideration of our financial reality and the necessary trade-offs that would accompany any of those options. So determinations there of next steps will be a key part of our work in the next year or so. Energy management has been the other major focus of the facilities and building crew, looking at our project with Train Energy and AUMA to complete the audits of our facilities. So again, you'll be seeing through budget the potential capital projects on various facilities that are estimated to save us over $7,000 a month on utility costs once those are implemented. So then again, general maintenance and improvement work has been ongoing at all of our facilities. That has included security system upgrades at the fire hall, operations shop, library learning center, and the curling club. The pool, there's been some replacements of the change room partitions as well as filter upgrades and replacements there. The arena, the large project was the dehumidifier installation that has been delayed due to supply chain issues, but they have told us now February is when we are hoping the equipment will arrive, as well as the new electric ice resurfacer, which is scheduled to arrive on Wednesday. You guys probably just received an invite from me to come and take a picture with the new ice resurfacer as part of our grant requirements through the Municipal Climate Change Action Center that we need to do a little fanfare when it arrives. So the final function area, I guess, is communications. So Ken is our communications coordinator, overseeing all external town communications, town voice, social media, press release. He is also our radio voice, as well as all the supporting marketing and tourism activities that go along with that. So if we want to just do a quick look at the building stats, I think there's a bit of positivity, certainly just on the number of residential builds. So we're at 16 year to date for 2021. We haven't seen that many housing starts since 2015, 2016. And I think actually Tracy got a couple more in last week. So we will probably surpass those 2015, 2016 numbers. And generally it was a pretty busy year for development. So that's something we haven't necessarily been able to say for a while. So yeah, any questions or yeah, just information.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. Any questions? Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley, through to CAO Becker. The housing starts in the residential, are those spec homes or are they actual being built for people that are going to move to Innisfail? Or a combination thereof?
They're both. So the permits that have been issued in Hazelwood, those are typically purchased homes. They haven't been building spec homes in Hazelwood. There have been a few in Bella Vista, but there are getting to be more and more that are actually already sold before they start. So it's a combination for sure.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm sure the lumber prices a few months ago may have stalled things out a little bit as well when they tripled or quadrupled. Okay, nothing else. Can I please have a motion that we accept this report as information?
Mayor Barkley, I so move.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dunham. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to operations 3.5 on call on Director Kennedy.
Thanks, Mayor Barkley. Yeah, just to give you again just a brief overview of the operations department again, just what we've been up to, who we are. So yeah, 30 staff approximately, full-time staff, and over the past few years, 14 summer students is what we've been operating with. The department is a diverse group of individuals with a wide range of experience. I'd said 3 to 35, but actually we have a guy that's just started here 6 months ago, so it's probably 0.5 to 35, but as well as a long-term employee just retiring here previously in Dan Gervais, and another one in our Parks Department who's going on 36 years. So really long time serving committed individuals within our department. We've set out some goals this past year within the department, and that's employee retention, employee growth, and then achieving and maintaining service levels. That's really been their primary goal over the last, in dealing with Dan, I guess, probably his whole career is that's been their number one, achieving and maintaining that service level. So that's kind of our little group in a nutshell there. Let's go through some of the capital projects that we did. Actually, I have a video as well because I want to impress you guys about all the money I spend every year. And so I'll get Kara to bring up the video. And this was with Dan, actually, Ken helped me out with this one just to give a good overview of all the projects or majority of the projects that we did this year. Hopefully. Here it comes. So this is 50th Street. We did the beautification there. This is the surface improvements, mainly just paving. This is 46th Ave. We did the sewer, water, and street improvements on this one. 37th Street, just recently paved. 51st Ave, this was a mill and overlay. And then 52nd Ave, this is where we removed a bunch of trees the year prior. So this year we planted some new ones. 53rd Ave, 38th Street, another infrastructure replacement area. And then lastly here is the ball diamonds. So getting along the completion of the ball diamonds. So that's some of the bigger ones that we did as well. We did do Reservoir 2 emergency generator upgrade to supply us some backup power there. We did the pedestrian rail crossing, and that was a big one where we just have CP finalizing the lights and the arms. Border paving will be in tomorrow, hopefully, if not Wednesday, to build the trail. So we're hoping to at least get the base work done. We won't get it paved, but we will get that crossing operational here by mid-November. And then lastly, for our capital this year is the whistle sensation. We were successful in finally achieving that. Not a lot of municipalities actually achieve whistle sensation. So I think it was a big win for us. We do have one more crossing that we're just waiting for an upgrade by CP on, and then we'll have all of our crossings achieving that. So in total this year, we spent about $5 million, just over $5 million in our capital projects, funded from MSI, federal tax, gas tax, the Building Canada grant, and as well as some various reserves. All the projects were completed on time and within the budgets that we had set out, if not under. So did very well, I believe, with capital again this year. Some of our operating projects that we do in-house, that's with our own manpower, is we did four water and sanitary repair digs. 2 of them significant, took multiple days to do, quite difficult to do, but we're successful in getting those done. We oversaw the sidewalk repair program. We completed the water fill station. Didn't quite get it operational this year, but we will have it going next year over at the Sandy dump there. We completed a lead mitigation program. So that was a program that it was brought to us as a government fund, actually a requirement that we have to do. So we did go into 40 homes this year, did a bunch of testing on their lead. Out of that 40, only one house was found that needs to be further tested and some further enhancement done. Lastly, in regards to our operational projects is our Transcanada trail signage. So that's just recently we got that completed, even though it's been actually on the Transcanada trail for many, many years, we've just never had it signed. So we were able to get a grant for that one and achieved some signage and some recognition about the Transcanada Trail. So another area that we've been working hard in is our health and safety program. So our health and safety program we've had for quite a many years. We've been preparing this year quite heavily on getting our core. So that's our safety or our certification of recognition. That's going to be coming up here in mid-November. So our health and safety coordinator has been working quite hard with getting everybody up to speed, getting all of our paperwork in line to successfully achieve that core audit. So it's kind of the operations program in a nutshell. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Director Kennedy. Busy year. Anybody have any questions? Councillor Hystad.
Your worship to Director of Operations, Mr. Kennedy. 46, I think it's 46 Ave. Did you say that that one was going to get paved, or there was I walk by it every day, so.
Yeah. Yep, no, they won't get paved this year. Same with 53rd Ave. That's another one that we did the sewer and the water. So what we started last year was on those projects where we have the deep utilities to be replaced. We are just replacing them with millings, giving them an opportunity to settle out.
Okay,
And then we'll be paving next year.
it's good to know. Thanks.
Councillor Bates.
Yeah, just coincidentally today, not checking it out, but I happen to be driving that little road right below the new planters. I think that's going to have to go on your paving project for next year. It's in pretty rough shape, actually. The road right below on the curve.
Anyone else? Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I'd just like to say I drive by the pedestrian crossing at the White Rock every day, and there's lots of students and children using that crossing now. So I'm really glad to hear you funneled them all to there. So I'm really glad to hear that there's going to be arms and some control over that by the end of the month. So yeah, good job.
Director Kennedy, that there was a grant that came along with that crossing. Do you have to wait until it's completely finished before applying?
We do have to fully complete the project. Same with the 42nd Ave one. Projects need to be completed and paid, and then we'll be with the assistance of CP Rail getting submission for those grants.
Okay, do you want to just kind of a brief overview of the grant for our new councillors? And
Yeah, so typically what they do is it's through Transport Canada. So with CP Rail and their projects, we have to upfront the cost for the crossings, and then we will work with CP to try and get full funding if we can, if not partial funding for those crossings.
okay, thank you. So could somebody please make a motion to accept this for information?
Mayor
Councillor
Barkley, I
Wynn.
would so move.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Next, we will move on to Director Vickers and the Corporate Services Department.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. So the Corporate Service Department for the town of Innisfail consists of a team of professionals dealing with areas of Innisfail operations, including finance. Now, that's the biggest area under corporate services. Finance is responsible for the management of the financial affairs of the municipality. The finance division consists of 5 employees, one being the new manager that you just met this evening, and is overseen by the director of corporate services and the finance manager. Among its many functions is the preparation of the annual operating and capital budgets, where the director and finance manager works with other departments to prepare the annual budget for presentation to council. So budget 2022 discussions are well underway and will be presented to council on November 24th, 25th, and 26th. So some of the other key things is also the year-end audit, which takes about 3 months of every year, starting in January, ending at the end of March. Financial reporting happens all year round. Taxation and assessment, while taxes are only prepared in April annually, there is still lots of work done each month, dealing with lawyers and dealing with real estate agents with the taxes. Accounts payable, accounts receivable, business licenses. We just recently sent out our renewals for our business licenses, and I think it's over that 650 mark for renewals that we sent out this year. Animal licenses, we're sitting around 1,100 cat and dog licenses that we process each year. Those renewals will go out later in November. Utility billing, the utilities clerk sends out approximately 3,500 utility bills each month, where some are electronic and some are paper, as well as the cemetery administration. So the next department is legislative services. So this division is responsible for the retention and disposal of all records in accordance with legislation. The legislative services coordinator is also responsible for handling FOIP requests received by the town of Innisfail. The 2021 municipal election was recently completed with great success. We had an outstanding number of voter turnout. 2,679 total residents voted over 5 days. It took many months of planning and preparation to complete. The expenses to date were $28,423.22, with a revenue of $15,794, and that came from the government of Alberta for the referendum and Senate vote questions. So among that, it's also oversight of all policies and bylaws fall under this person as well. Internal document management, retention, destruction, FOIP election. So human resources currently provides support to 77 full and part-time staff, 7 counselors, and 25 volunteer firefighters, as well as various contractors. Those were just current numbers as of last week. Support provided to all departments entails a full range of human resources services, including recruitment and selection, performance management, employee recognition, leave management, and staff retention, payroll administration, and pension and benefit administration. A function of this area is to support management and employees in meeting operational demands and achieving their strategic goals. So information and technology. This division includes information and technology services and is responsible for maintaining all network systems that keep the town of Innisfail running effectively and efficiently. IT is also responsible for the ongoing security of those network systems. This is primarily completed by Ken Yeoman with For Real IT Solutions. He is our IT person. So in that is also email management, internal systems, maintenance, data storage, and network security. So we also do have RCMP detachment clerks that work based out of the RCMP detachment. We have 3 municipal employees over there. They work closely with operational members and federal support staff in support of the detachment. So they do support all the members over there. They deal with file maintenance. They process all the criminal record checks for the town of Innisfail, and they do office administration. And then some of the key items coming up for the corporate services is the 2022 year end. And I have already started planning with our auditors for that. They actually are coming in November 15th and 16th to do their pre-audit. Some of the big things is development of a long-term financial plan and forecast modeling. So some of that will include reserves forecasting, carbon tax forecasting, offsite levy forecasting, even grant forecasting and utility rate forecasting. We are going to start completing a taxation review that likely will take 12 to 16 months. Policy development and review. So the employee policy, purchasing policy, and investment policy are being updated and revamped, as well as things like a reserves policy and a budget policy are some things that we're going to be looking at considering. And just some of the bylaws that are currently under review is the utilities bylaw and business license bylaw. We are also going to complete a review of our records management system and also the council chambers IT review. So if you have any questions.
Thank you, Director Vickers. Very busy. Councillor Bates.
Yes, through to Director Vickers. I do have one question. Could you give us a little more detail what a taxation review would entail?
So part of that would be potentially introducing different mill rates for different properties, like a vacant property, something where nothing is built on it versus where a home is built on it, and things like that.
Okay.
We don't know much about it yet. That will come in the review and through our research, right?
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hystad.
Yeah, I was curious about, I just went into my policies here, but IT policies, what kind of IT policies we have or what we may be reviewing. Sorry, I should have asked that. are we reviewing any IT? I just kind of got a special interest in that for privacy, itself. And so maybe that's just, I'd just throw it at you for the heck of it.
So you mean like IT policies?
Yeah,
Do you
IT,
mean-
just IT, any IT policies itself. Do we have many? Or I just went into the search, but
I'm not too sure. I don't think we have too many yet, but
go ahead, sorry.
Mayor Barkley, Councillor Hystad, not so much IT policies for public policy, more on risk, security, cybersecurity. You know, those are conversations we have, making sure our systems are current, and our municipalities have been hacked into. We want to prevent that as best we can. So I think that's something we certainly make note of and give you some of that information to, so you help understand what level of risk we're at regarding our IT systems.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks. That's what I was looking at. It's been on my radar for a while. Thanks.
Okay, nothing further, then I will ask for somebody to make a motion, please, to accept this as information.
I so move, Mayor Barkley.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. We will move on to 3.7, the information and correspondence on the Métis flag letter. Did you want to speak to this, CEO Becker, or?
Yeah, sure, Mayor Barkley. So occasionally we get requests regarding flags. This one came in to us just last, well, I guess a couple of weeks ago, asking the town to consider raising the flag associated with the Métis people. As we did with the Pride flag, council was introduced to that opportunity, and council supported it. So this is kind of ties in with this and this request, and we certainly could do that with council's acknowledgement and likely replace the town's flag and place this flag. We certainly would have to get the flag for sure, and if you're supportive of that, we'd certainly make that happen.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to have further discussion about flags, or?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Mayor Barkley,
Okay. Well, the CEO Becker and I, we were speaking this morning, and of course we have Remembrance Day coming up on November the 11th. We have flags at half mast. So the conversation was around, do we want to raise our flags so that we can then again lower them, honoring November the 11th? And I guess maybe do some further research as into what we would do after November the 11th. We certainly don't want to be disrespectful for why the flags were lowered in the first place, but we also know what a special day November the 11th is as well.
So with that, Mayor Barkley, the intent is to talk to staff, direct them to raise the flags in the morning, and then of course proceed on to Thursday to lower the flags and for the Remembrance Day acknowledgement.
Any discussion? Maybe we'll have some little discussion about that before we make a motion on the Métis flag, but no discussion. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Okay, then would somebody, if anybody cares to make a motion with respect to the Métis flag? Councillor Dunham.
Excuse me, Mayor Barkley, I so move.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, that's okay.
Clarification for the Métis flag.
Yes, yeah, so, yep, so. Yep, no, a motion to fly the Métis flag November 15th to 21st. Okay, perfect. All in favor? Great, carried. Thank you. Councillor
Mayor
Harrison.
Barkley, before we move on off of flags, are we looking at a flag policy somewhere down the road, CEO Becker?
Mayor Barkley, the Councillor Harrison, based on council's directive, for sure, we can certainly, there are flag protocols. Might make it easiest if we had a policy associated. Often it's on the discretion of the CAO. With the reconciliation flags being lowered, it was at the council conversation. So if that's for the direction, we can certainly take that through a resolution and initiate that process. that's what council's desire is.
Barclay, I'd so move that we direct administration to look at information around a flag policy and bring back the information to council for further review.
I'm just going to ask Councillor Harrison, can you further clarify like the kind of the purpose behind this? I think right now we follow protocol, correct, with maybe provincial, federal. So is this something if like the procedure, if somebody wants to fly a flag, we don't really have any procedure? Is that?
Yeah, that's to Mayor Barclay. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Is it as the groups start to come up, we need some kind of sort of direction for, I believe, for administration to say yay or nay. And I think that should come from, you know, we've started with the pride. We're now Métis. We still on, you know, Treaty 6 lands. It could be, you know, a tribal council for Treaty 6. You know, this thing could start to get quite a bit bigger. And I think it would just be, if we do have a policy, it would just help administration when they're approached.
So through to CEO Becker, what do you foresee, CEO Becker, like doing that we wouldn't have this come to council anymore at that point in time? You would have your policy and be able to make the decisions yourself?
Mayor Barclay, yeah, I think some clarity would be nice. We get notifications for, will you please consider lowering your flags? And so it is, don't we? I know this request and the pride flag requests were quite, you know, that's quite easy, but there is some gray areas. What do we do with that flag? Do we acknowledge that or not? So I think some direction would be easy policy, I would think, but a little bit of direction would be nice.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Everybody in favor? Passed, thank you. And then 3.8, AUMA convention.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay, and thanks, Kara, for putting this together. Kara will be developing you a package for you. So all the information will be provided to you in written format, likely. I think written format, Kara. Just where are we staying, check in, all that type of information. This is kind of a glimpse of the convention, the itinerary, more further down into this information. There are some pre-convention activities if you're interested. Of course, the Munis 101, which you're registered for already, that is occurring the Monday and Tuesday in advance of the convention, which starts on Wednesday. There's also on the Tuesday a legal seminar hosted by Reynolds, Mervs, Richards and Farmers LLP. They talk more on pecuniary interest, but I do know they'll talk on pecuniary interest at Munis 101, but it certainly is up to you if you have a really desire to learn more in advance. Just let Kara know, and it certainly will help you regarding that. Yeah, convention, code of conduct. There is some, actually it's more for the in-camera discussion. There's an engagement opportunity, I can't say publicly. There's an engagement that has been established with the Minister of Alberta Transportation regarding, well, we'll chat further on more on the advocacy component coming up and further on your agenda. So I'll talk about that. I'll find the date on my computer, but it's the Thursday of the convention. But I'll give you more detail in a minute. And then just into the days, of course, it's at the Shaw in Edmonton. It hosts quite well, larger activities from breakfast to lunches, but all the speakers. And so Kara and I will help you at any given time if you need some direction or need some advice. We're there to support you. This is a council convention, and we will have a director Kennedy join us, as well as we do circulate the senior managers to attend as well. So yeah, so just in advance, again, we'll get you a document so it's clear where we stand in reference to the Shaw, which is just down the street. No scooters required this time. And yeah, I just want to give you a kind of snip look at the convention.
Any questions about the convention? Councillor Maceras?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Yeah, I've got a question about what council's responsibility is for the networking events and whether are we expected to show up to those, and are there assignments or?
That's a really good question, Mayor Barkley. Councillor Mazeros. Yeah, I certainly, it's more of encouragement about what your expectations amongst yourselves, but there is opportunity to meet other elected officials. There's politicians, mainly from the provincial government, circulating. So, you certainly can grab on and start that network, which is really an advocacy initiation. But it's really amongst ourselves and how you wish to utilize those opportunities to even learn from each other and from administration. But there is one invite. I hadn't talked to you, Mayor Barkley, but often larger entities would invite council out for wine and dine. It doesn't breach our policies, but ATCO Gas has invited council out for a meal if you're interested. If not, that's okay too. This is a common approach to help their local representatives to get to know you as a new council. So I'll talk about that in a bit as well, but that invite is there for you. If not, you can certainly utilize what's there for you, but expectations is up to you, council, on how you wish to access those networking opportunities. The events itself, there are some speakers come and give you information. You certainly, I know past, Mayor Barkley, if you don't mind me saying, is that council often will kind of touch base where you go on, just make sure not all 7 are within a room, is break it off and gather as much information possible. You can determine what you want to report back into the council chambers once you're done the convention. And yeah, administration will be attending those activities as well, and then pull ideas back into the chambers as you deem are appropriate.
Yeah, lots of great opportunities and always very informative, of course. Anything else about the convention? No, I guess we can talk further as we go along here and kind of sort all that out. So we will move into roundtable discussion. What I've asked Kara to do is she's going to rotate counselors kind of through. So somebody will go first, somebody different will go first every week. Just kind of give that person a chance to something new and fresh. So we will start with Councillor Harrison today.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Barkley, and thank you, Cara. I think in 19 months, this is the first time I get to go first. So thank you very much for the rotation. This past week, I only had one meeting, and that was the age-friendly committee. And we had a really good meeting. It was 2 hours, pretty intense. And we started off talking about action plans and what we were going to do with, the money we were getting from the Communities in Action grant. And that went on for a little bit. And then we pulled back and we said, hey, maybe we need to look at some ideas. And the idea of a survey came up, and it was to tag on to the Ipsos survey that we just finished and got reported on here 2 weeks ago on the community services. It was felt, and there was a motion made that we investigate the cost of what we called an addendum to that survey specific to age-friendly. There are some dollars available in ICGI or ISCGI grant that we might be able to use to do that. So administration is taking that away, and they're going to come back with a price from Ipso, I believe, to see what that would cost. It's not a specific survey like our community services one, but it's specific to age-friendly and the demographics that we have. The previous community survey is 5 years old now, and due to COVID, we felt that there was probably some adjustments that could be made to those outcomes. So that was the first thing. So you'll be able to see a little bit more on that. We do have our next meeting coming up on December the 1st, and I'm certain that we'll get an update from administration there. Upcoming, other than that, I just attended the training for new council members here this past week, and it was very informative. George Cuff always gives a good presentation. It was very, very enlightening, also very, at times, very humorous. So it was good. And every time I've been to one of those, you always pick something up. There's a little tidbit there so it's even for old dogs, even for old counselors, it's a good refresher. So I think that's about it, Mayor Barkley.
Okay, did that feel good to go first? I said, did that feel good to go first?
Pardon me?
Did that feel good to go first?
Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
okay.
Yeah, it did.
All right. Okay, well, that'll be it for a while. Okay. Councillor Maceras.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Yeah, I also attended the George Cuff session, and I couldn't imagine that someone could make municipal politics so exciting and interesting. And I thought maybe my next direction is to go in as a management consultant for municipal politics. But anyway, so I attended that. It was excellent. And my first committee meeting is tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. It's the Municipal Planning Commission Committee, and that's it for me.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Maceras and Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I as well attended the George Cuff training, and yes, very, very interesting. And I think it was the president of the AMA sent out an email and said that the learning curve right now is by fire hose as opposed to a faucet, which is very true. I had the opportunity to sit down with Director Jenkins last week to get sort of brought up to speed on a couple committees that I'm on. And I have my first Economic Development Committee meeting on Thursday, which I'm very excited about. And that's been pretty much it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Councillor Wing.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Yes, I joined the group for the George Cuff training in Delburn last week. I enjoyed it a lot. It was also good to be in the room with so many other municipal councils and see lots of familiar faces, but also see as many wide eyes as what were at our table. I haven't had any meetings yet, but I do have MPC tomorrow, Parkland Library Thursday, going for a tour and a meeting at our library next Monday. And then I'm going to the Cape reception on Thursday evening in Didsbury. So be able to put some faces to names and reconnect at that event as well. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Bates.
Yeah, nothing unique for last week. Everybody forgot that we had our first council meeting and our special council meeting that in addition to George Cuff. Also last Friday, outside of council, I attended the first ITT production in the last year and a half, I believe. And that was just fun to be out and be able to do that. I have MPC tomorrow. I plan to come and see the new ice resurfacer on Thursday now that I know about it. And a question. Previously, I'd had a quick discussion with CIO Becker, and looking at the committees that we've had and members that then they've done their tenure. I'm thinking we should consider recognizing them with a certificate of some kind and thanking them for their service. And I reflect back 4 years ago, we also brought council back and gave them recognition. I actually brought the certificate that there was actually a letter of invite and then a certificate for serving 4 years on council. I think we should consider doing that because it's not a big expense, and particularly with the citizens that serve on committees, they don't we kind of say goodbye to them, and they've really got nothing to take away. So I think we should look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want a motion for the certificates for the citizens? I know we've been talking about doing something for former members of council. but-
Yeah, Mayor Barkley, yeah, it'd be appropriate to make a resolution to guide administration to do that.
Okay, Councillor Bates.
I'll move that that we do something similar as to what we did for council, and in addition to that, that we embark on a recognition certificate program for citizen committees, citizens that serve on committees.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, passed. Thank you. Okay, so just going to start off with something, bring it up, I guess, at next council meeting, because we can't do the motion today. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Hysat, I forgot you were at the end of the line. See, that's what happens, right?
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I felt like Dawn. No, no. I just-
Yeah, no kidding. Thank goodness you're waving your arms and jumping up and down.
I'm looking at Erica and Megan.
yeah.
You know what? I want to thank Councillor Bates for reminding us we had a first meeting as well as a special meeting, so I didn't forget. And I have Historical Village this week as well. And I want to thank Dawn for sitting in as my backup with aged care. And I look forward to working with Sandy and getting to know her and her team. So thanks. I'm just giving you a hard time.
As usual. Okay, now I'll proceed. So I can't make a motion today, but November is Family Violence Prevention Month. And I would like for us to have a proclamation for next Monday's council meeting. Bring that forward. I think Alberta has a third of all domestic violence crime in Canada. And I think a quarter of all violent crime is family violence. So, you know, it's need to bring awareness to it. And I know, you know, we recently had the event in Centennial Park that some community members did. So I think when we can bring awareness and make sure that people know where resources and information is, that if they need it, and maybe even the town can put out some communication at some point this month about that. So I had went to George Cuff training, of course. I think we all came down and looked at the potential new van for the town on Friday. Tomorrow we have Dorothy Page's 100th birthday celebration. It was last Thursday actually, but we were out at George Cuff, so we couldn't go. So I do have a card that I would like everybody to sign before they leave today. And then we will, those who can come will get together tomorrow and go to Sunset Manor, do a drive-by. Hopefully it'll be nice enough she can come outside. Have the Community Economic Development Advisory Group meeting on Thursday at 5. So I can't go to Cape, Councillor Wing, so I'm so glad that you're going down to Didsbury. And if anybody else wants to go to Didsbury, that's open to all councillors to go have an evening with Cape and meet other elected officials. On Friday, I'm out at Penhold for Remembrance Day ceremonies in the afternoon. And then I'd sent an email out last week to council. So November 19th is a countdown to Christmas. And there's an opportunity for us to be there to hand out pizza, water, maybe resource kits that Karen Bradbury's department is putting together. If everybody is interested, there's also a tree lighting ceremony after that, correct, Director Jenkins? And so you can let me know after. You don't have to say yes or no right now, but maybe after today's council meeting, if you're interested or who is interested, let me know, and then we can get that information through to Director Jenkins, and she can take it back to Karen and let her know that some of us or all of us can be there. And then December 12th at 2 p.m. is also Festival of Trees. So it's been a request that council attend if we can. And so we can also discuss that later, and you can just let me know who can be there. And I don't know, do you have anything to fill in about that, Councillor Dunham? Or
Mayor Barkley, not at this point in time, but I will
Okay.
definitely update.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And I think that is it. Scanning my notes here. Of course, Munis 101, there's another date that's come up for Black Falls, December 11th and 12th. So also today after council, if we can decide who wants to go where, and then we can let CEO Becker know that as well. So I think that's it for me. Yes, we'll entertain a motion to go in camera, please.
I'll make a motion to go on camera.
Thank you, Councillor Hystad. All in favor? Okay, thank you. We'll just take a 5-minute recess.